All right. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good morning, Karen and Martha. Great to see you checking in this morning. Hopefully, everybody's had a great week, and we are going to have a good bit of information here. I hopefully can share some stuff with you guys. Let's see here. Martha asked Karen, "Are you going to ISS?" So there you go. I'm popping that up there for you guys. Also, Easter coming up tomorrow, so better add a fun little Easter theme here to the video. Anyhow, everybody hopefully is doing great and having a great weekend. To start off, I'm excited. Got a 6-year-old, and he is going to love doing the Easter egg hunt in the morning. So pretty stoked about that. All right, so last week we talked about that we're going to talk about commodity versus singular suppliers, and I just found it interesting that after you start thinking about something like that, all these things start popping up that are like, okay, yep. So I don't know if anybody's ever heard of like the law of attraction, but something that I've been researching and becoming more involved with lately, and so I kind of feel like we're creating our own realities here by the law of attraction. Yesterday on the Two Regular Guys podcast, both of our guests, we had Marshall Atkinson and Tom Rowan on, and they both talked about some things in this arena not becoming a commodity. Question came up. What do you do when somebody asks you for a better price, that kind of thing. So there's one bit I'm like, that ties into what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. And then read in Printware magazine on their digital edition, their newsletter that I get, a Q&A from Jennifer Cox, who's with NNEP, and her question that she answered is, what do I do when a customer says they can get this service down the road cheaper? So I will pop a link up to that because I think her answer is excellent. But we're gonna talk about that in a little more detail today too. So I think the first place to start, and again, as you guys have any questions or comments, or feel free to pop them up there, and I'll try to get to them here. But let's define a commodity first. So, did a lot of research on this, and basically all kind of boils back to the same thing. A commodity is a good or service that the customer decides all of the provider offer basically the same value. All the providers offer basically the same value, and the only way to win the business is based on price. So that's a commodity. Some examples of this might be gasoline. We'll drive 2 blocks up the street to save 2 cents a gallon. Those kinds of things. Internet service. As long as everything's the same, the same speeds are being promoted. Really, our decision boils down to price, because you're either dealing with the service there is not very good. Typically, it's a cable company or something like that. So groceries are another thing that can be easily become a commodity. The coupon people, you're clipping out of your newspapers, or you're trying to find the best deal, and you're driving to 4 different stores to get the cheapest prices on groceries. Something that maybe we don't think of as being a commodity, but they kind of commoditize themselves, was the personal computers and things like that. So nowadays we really just kind of look for the best price based on the features we're looking for. And then maybe something that hits a little closer to home for us decorators, promotional products can a lot of times be a very commoditized business. Who has the best price? I just want this little trinket with a 1-color logo on it, and I need 10,000 of them, and yours is 1 penny cheaper than the next guy. Well, then I'm going with you, kind of thing. So those are some examples. Kind of when I mentioned personal computers, and I said that not many people realize that, but think of the giants of the day back in the 90s when people started really buying personal computers. You had HP, you had Compaq, you had Dell, Acer, Gateway, IBM. These were the brands that you sought out, and you had a brand that you were loyal to. Not even going beyond the whole PC and Mac debate, but true to a brand for a Windows-based computer, and that was something that I think we did. But think about it nowadays. A lot of those names aren't even around anymore. Compaq was bought by HP. I don't even think you can buy a Gateway anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. You've got all these. Oh, the light turned up a little bit, warmed up there for me. So anyhow, nowadays we probably go to Amazon, we probably go to Best Buy and look at the best price based on the features that we want. So how did those companies become a commodity? What did they do, and what caused those brands to kind of die as being the go-to brand? And I think a big part of that was that they spent all of their time selling their features and benefits. They talked about themselves, their products, and things like that. I early on in my career, I worked for a printing company, and HP was actually across the parking lot from the printing company I worked at. So I did a lot of business with HP, and most of that were these beautiful little sell sheets that had all the features and benefits of their products. It was, specifically listed out how many gigahertz and blah, blah, blah. But what they didn't sell on those sheets was their relationship, why their customers needed it. I've always said to people that, when I've been a sales manager, you got to sell the sizzle. I don't care if this thing prints X number of colors or 12 things an hour or whatever. What is it that's going to do for your customer? What's the benefit? What's the sizzle, the bacon? We like bacon, but we really enjoy that sizzle. What it's going to do for me makes my mouth water. So you might win a customer the first time based on price and product and some of that, but the successful business owners know that keeping your customers is way more important than getting new ones. If you can keep your customers coming back to you regardless of your price, then you're going to have a successful business. If you're those kinds of things. So how do we avoid this? One of the first things that you want to do to become a singular, this would call this a singular supplier, meaning they only want to come to you, and it doesn't matter if your price is more expensive or whatnot. They don't even worry about shopping around. They go, okay, I need X. I know this person has provided me X. It was a wonderful experience, so I'm going back there. That's my singular supplier. So how do we do that? Well, we need to set ourselves apart. We need to make sure the customer will happily pay what you offered without a need to shop around. So, let's set ourselves apart. A good example of this would be the groceries. We have several grocery stores in our little area here that I live in St. Peters, Missouri, and lots of them. We've got the higher end grocery stores, the organics, the cheap guys, the Walmart marketplace, all that kind of stuff, right in our little area here in a little community that we live in. And there are actually several grocery stores that are much cheaper and much closer than the grocery store that my family goes to. In fact, my wife and son are there right now. And so why is it that we choose to go a little bit further away from our house to a place where we spend a little bit more money? And that's all because what they've done to set themselves apart. We go in there, the place is always really nice and clean. Everybody that works there is super nice and helpful. The aisles are nice and wide and very well organized. So, we've just been going there. We go in there, we know how to make our way through. We feel comfortable there. So, instead of having to go to 3 different places to get the best deals, we're willing to spend a little extra money because our experience with them is what we're looking for as a family. So you got to think about how that works for your company. You need to ask your good customers what keeps them coming back. And I bet when you ask this question, they're going to tell you things like your service, your reliability, your speed, your attention to detail, your personality. Think about like a guy like Johnny Cupcakes, which I think I've talked about before, but if you don't know who that is, you need to look him up. He sells 1 and 2 color t-shirts, very rarely more than 1 or 2 colored t-shirts. He sells them for $35 a piece. And he has sold over 300 million of them at $35 a piece. And he has people lined up outside of his stores, camping out to get the latest Johnny Cupcake t-shirt. So he set himself apart. He's got his personality. He's got his shtick. His shtick is he parades as a bakery, but yet he sells T-shirts. So, and that's his personality. So show those things. So those are some things. Now, when you're asking these good customers why they come back, I bet they will not say things like, well, your printing technique, I really like that you're a screen printer. I really like that you're a sublimator. Or you've got a lot of colors of ink. You can print 16 million colors with your sublimation printer. Or I really love that super nice price grid of one to four colors, 72 pieces, 1,000 pieces. That thing is so awesome. And I just love having to read that each time I need to buy something from you. I'm pretty sure that nobody is actually going to tell you that. If somebody tells you that, I would like you to record it and I would like you to send it to me, Aaron@montcoconsulting.com. Okay. Seriously, I want to hear this, and I want to hear if they're saying that with a straight face. So maybe a video would be good. All right. So what we want to do is, for most of us businesses out there, most of us small businesses out there, we're not a commodities broker. If you are, then you can turn this part off right now. But if you are not, if that's not your niche, you do want to try to actually avoid those large orders. Not saying that if somebody comes to you and insists on you doing a 10,000 piece order that you should turn it away. But if they come to you and say, here's a 10,000 piece order, but you have to be at this price, you need to be okay going, no, this is my price. This is what my business does. These are the services I provide. You are going to be super happy after you get those 10,000 pieces. You might save a nickel up the street, but they're not going to be me. And you need to be confident about that. Saying no to orders is will gain you some of the most profitable orders you've ever had, because there's a reason that they're there. There's a reason they didn't pick the guy up the street that was 2 cents less. And therefore, you need to call them out on that. They're not going to tell you why that they didn't go with the other guy. Maybe the other guy couldn't turn it around in the time that they needed in, or maybe the other guy wouldn't print whatever they needed printed the way that they felt like it needed to be printed. There's plenty of reasons why they didn't go there. They're not going to tell you that. Their job is to get the best price. Your job is to get the highest price you can get and make them happy to pay that. So avoid those things. If you spend all of your time worrying about the guy up the street that's 2 cents less, or whatever your most fierce competitor is, you will not be worrying about what your customers want, what your customers need, and on your customers. You really need to spend your time focusing on your customers. Who cares what the other guy is selling it for? Who cares what the other guy is doing? Yes, having the information is fine, but spending all of your time trying to figure out how to compete against them as opposed to win your customers' loyalty will be a recipe for disaster. So the number one key to becoming a singular supplier is to focus on the customer experience. Focus on the time they learn about you all the way to the time that they're actually using the product. Not just when they pick up, so you don't want to stop at just when they pick up the order. You want to think about all the way to when they're actually using the product and putting that product in their closet if you're selling shirts or whatever. You want to think about all those things. So let's think about this. Let's use an example. Let's say you're selling shirts to a 5K. Well, okay, that they've picked up that shirt and they picked it up. Is it easy for the volunteers to hand them out on race morning when there's 10,000 people in front of them? And everything's crazy and nobody exactly knows what's going on. Is it easy for them to do? Or did you take and stack those shirts in batches of 12 or whatever the printer's fold is and stuff them back into the old Gildan box that you took them out of and handed those to them? And that's fine. People do that all the time. Every single race I've been to, it pretty much seems like that's the norm. But you know what? How can you differentiate yourself? If you go to that same 5K that's been buying that way for a long time and say, you know what, for just a couple of pennies more, I'm going to make your life easier. I'm going to make your volunteers' life easier. I'm going to go ahead and individually pack those by size in a nice box that, oh, by the way, has my brand on it, Aaron Montgomery T-shirts.com or whatever. And then that experience for them, and they're going to come back to you each and every time because you've made their lives easier. They didn't come back to you because you were the cheapest price. They've got sponsors that's part of what the customer's paying for. So the price doesn't really matter to them. I mean, as long as you're not gouging them, as long as you're in a ballpark, they're willing to pay for those services. So don't look at it. So think about it all the way through to the end. Also look at how your marketing might match up. Does the look and feel of when they first met you match the look and feel of the follow-up email that they're getting a month after they got their product? Are they going to remember who you are because of your personality, because of the experience that they had? The other thing that you want to do is give those customers opportunities to build relationships along the way. When they picked up their product, was it a fun experience? Did you take some pictures? Did you have a good time? Were they able to tell their story about why this 5K is so important to them, or whatever the case may be? Give them those opportunities to build that relationship with you, the person, the business as a personality, and that will go a long ways. That's what Johnny Cupcake's done. He's given his customers an opportunity to build that relationship. He responds to everybody on social media. He gives them an opportunity. People have tattoos of his logo on their body. So, he's clearly given them an opportunity to build their relationship. You should be selling based on your relationship. When the person says they can get it up the road cheaper, my answer, like I said, Jennifer Cox has some great answers yesterday on the Two Regular Guys podcast. But my simple answer to the question, when a customer says I can get it up the road cheaper, I would offer to drive them up the road and drop them off and see what happens. Make that your personality. Say, okay, perfect. I'm glad you can do that. My car's right up front. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Enjoy your experience. If you would like to buy from me, and here's what we have to offer, and here's what you're going to get, great. All right, guys. So there we go. Any quick questions before I get out of here? All right. Well, happy Easter. And make sure to remember also tomorrow's April Fool's Day. So don't remember everything you're going to hear on the internet or see. I'm already concerned about my dad coming over. He thinks he's quite a jokester. So I'm sure there's going to be some April Fool's pranks at Easter dinner tomorrow night. But anyways, you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we will talk to you next week. Got a couple things in the work for next week, but feel free to go over to on the Facebook page where you're watching this at and give me some ideas, some things you'd like to learn more about. Feel free to post those or hit me up via email, Aaron at montcoconsulting.com. And yes, happy Easter to you too, Karen. You guys have a great weekend. Bye-bye.